Dr. Joe DeMarco, chiropractor and owner of OcraMed Health. And I'm back in the office today. Sorry, we usually do our videos every Wednesday. Of course, we missed this past Wednesday because it was Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy New Year. But we're off schedule a little bit. I think today's Friday, so we're a little bit off on our usual schedule with our videos, but we're back to it. I hope everyone had a great holiday. Okay, today we're talking about back pain. In particular, we're talking about problems with what we call the Quadratus Lumborum, or what's commonly called the QL. I treat this all the time in my office. People usually present with either left-sided back pain or right-sided back pain, and it feels like the muscles along the left or right side of the back are in like a vice grip. It just feels like the muscles are all cinched up, causing back pain, and like I said, it's usually on the left or the right. Now, what's up with the QL? Why does this muscle cause problems? So what we're going to do today is I'm going to explain that. We're going to go over some fascia release work for the QL, and we're going to go over a progression of some QL stretches that we can do, okay? So first off, the QL. What's going on with this muscle? What is it? So the QL is a deep core muscle. It actually sits deep. The erector muscles, those thick muscles of your back, sit more superficial. The QL is deep. It's coming off the crest of the pelvis here, right here, and it's coming up in this direction like this, and it attaches into the side of L1 through L4, which is out of the 5 lumbars, it's attaching to the top 4 to the side, and then it has attachments on the bottom rib, which is your T12 rib. So the muscle kind of comes in like this position, like on a fan, off the crest of the pelvis, attaches to the side of those lumbars. It's a deep core muscle. So this muscle is it's helping to support the spine, but it also has actions. It will help if I want to bend over to my left, I'm going to contract that left QL. It's going to help me do that. Also, if I want to jack up my left hip, the QL on the left is going to help me jack up the hip. So it has function, but it's also deep and it's a core muscle. So why do we run into trouble with this muscle, and why do I see so many patients come in with QL problems? Well, for example, people that sit a lot during the day, if you're sitting a lot, which is a bad posture to be doing, sitting I can give you 100 different reasons why sitting's bad for you, but we're talking the QL. So when you're sitting and you're sitting for a long period of time, your erector muscles are getting overworked. They're trying to support your back, and they get fatigued. So if you're in the same spot for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, those erector muscles, those thick muscles start to get fatigued. The deep QL muscles tries to assist the erector muscles, and it's not meant to do that. So after a while, after sitting, those erectors fatigue out, the QL tries to help, and what ends up happening with that weaker, smaller QL, it gets into a tight spasm, it forms a knot, you go to get up and you can just feel like your back feels like it's in a vice grip. Then you get up and then you're going into the gym or you're doing something, before you know it, you strain it even worse. Also, I see this all the time, parents, grandparents, they come in, they're constantly holding their kids on their hip, and what do we do when we hold the 30-pound kid on the hip? We kind of keep that hip jacked up. Well, what do you think's working when we're doing that? That QL is kicking in. It's not meant to hold the 30-pound kid on the crest of your pelvis. It gets strained. Also in the gym, it's commonly injured. This is a muscle that is not meant to take a heavy load, but a lot of times it kicks in when you go too heavy on a particular lift, or you're using poor form, you're using bad form on your squat, your deadlift. You can strain it just sitting down doing dumbbell presses, shoulder presses. If you're straining and you're overexerting and you're using bad form because you're using too much weight. So this muscle gets injured all the time, brings a lot of patients into my office. I want to show you how, if it happens to you, you get that vice grip of a pain on the left side or the right side in these muscles up through here. How we're going to fix it? We're going to do some fascial release work on it today, followed by a progression of some stretches that you can do, okay? So hopefully that's going to help you if you're running into any problems with your QL. So first off, fascial release work on the QL. I'm going to show you a technique today that you can just do standing. All you're going to do is you're going to need a massage ball. Of course, I use a Tai Chi ball from OcraMed Health because of that texture of the ball. It gets deep into the tissue, and we're going to need to get deep into the tissue today because the QL is deep. Now, to get even deeper with the ball up against the wall, I'm going to use a yoga block, but you can just use a book or anything that's going to actually bring the ball out further from the wall, okay? So with the block, what I do is I'm going to put it above my buttocks, right at the crest of the pelvis there. That's where I'm going to set the block. So when I lean into the block, it's above my buttocks. If you go down too low with it, it's not as useful. So go right above the buttocks, right along, palpate where the crest of your pelvis is, right through here. I can feel the bone right there. That's the crest of my pelvis. Palpate your bottom rib. That's where the QL ends. So we want to be in between the crest of the pelvis and the bottom rib. You don't want to be putting the Tai Chi ball on any bony structures on the pelvis or on the bottom rib. So I'm going to put the block above the buttocks. I'm going to lean into it on the wall. I'm actually going to have my feet come out from the wall a little bit in a little bit of a straddle, and I'm going to have my feet out a little bit from the wall, okay? And then I'm going to start with the ball right above the crest of my pelvis. So I'm going to put that ball right in this area. Let's see if I can just turn just to show you. It's right above the crest of my pelvis up against the block. And I'm going to lean my weight into it. And now to relax the muscle, I'm going to just kind of like lean into it and just relax. And so that and just let that ball kind of sink into the tissue a little bit. So in this position, I have that muscle kind of in a relaxed state here, and I'm letting that ball go right in to the tissue. So from here now, the ball is in deep. I can feel those prongs of that Tai Chi ball into the tissue. I'm going to take my arms, and I'm going to stretch up, and I'm going to try to stand up as straight as I can, and then I'm going to lean to the opposite side. And I'm going to come all the way back around like this and let it relax again. So I'm going to stretch up, straight up, so that ball is gripping the tissue, and now I'm stretching in the opposite direction, and then I'm going to go over to the side and come back around again. And I'm going to do that 5 times on that one spot. So I'm in a relaxed position. Now I'm going to stretch up and get a release on that QL. I'm going to lean over as far as I can and then come back. So nice and controlled, 5 times where we're going to reach up and stretch over. After 5 times, I'm going to take the ball and I'm just going to come up, maybe 1/2 inch or an inch. So I'm going to be up on a little higher part of that QL tissue. Once again, I'm going to press in. I'm going to lean and let that ball kind of sink in as deep as I can get it. I'm going to bend over at the same time to get the tissue in more of a shortened state, relaxed state. The ball's in deep into that tissue there. And then from this position, again, I'm going to stretch up as I'm reaching for the ceiling, and I'm going to stretch over and let it release out. And then I'm going to come back around. So I'm going to come back around, relax, stretch up, and really stretch to the opposite side. So what's happening is you're allowing the tissue of the QL is getting trapped underneath the ball, and then by stretching up and over, we're going to start to pull on that tissue and get a release. So if there's any adhesions that have built up in there, they're going to release as we do that, okay? So each time you put the ball in the spot, 5 times in a nice controlled stretching manner, breathe through the stretch. It's going to be a little uncomfortable, or it might be a lot uncomfortable, but 5 times, we're going to move the ball from the crest all the way up towards the 12th rib. So you're probably going to go on 3 or 4 different spots, and we're going to follow that by these stretches. Okay, great. So we did some fascia release work. We got a lot of blood flow in through the tissue of the QL. Now we're going to start some stretches. We're going to go in a progression of these 3 stretches. So start with this particular one. This is called what we call a gate pose. I want you to start with this. Once this feels okay, you can move on to the next one and then the next one. But take your time on this. You should be warmed up now that we just did some fascia release work. And of course, if you try to do this and you have any pain, just stop. But go to your best of your tolerance with it. Try to breathe through, just like you're breathing through the fascia release work. Try to breathe through these stretches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kneel. Say I want to stretch my left QL. I'm going to kneel on my left knee, so I have a little pad under my knee, make it a little more comfortable. And then the other leg I have just straight out like this. So from this position, I'm going to lean over to the right side. I'm going to run my hand down my leg like this for some balance and for some support. And as I do that, I'm going to come over with this arm as far as I can. And like I said, you can use this hand on your leg to kind of guide you and stretch you over like that. And then from here, I'm going to hold it for 30 seconds. And just try to do the best you can to breathe through this stretch. So I'm coming over, I'm going to breathe in and then blow out. And I'm just going to come over and I'm going to hold that for about 30 seconds and go as far as you can. And then I'm going to do this 3 times to the left. So if I'm treating my left QL, I'll do it 3 times, but even when I'm treating a left-sided injury, I always reverse it. I'll go the other way. So do it 3 times to stretching over to the right for your left QL, and then switch it up and go the other way. So that's the first stretch. That's called the gate pose. Okay, the next stretch is called a triangle pose. So if I want to stretch out my right QL, I have my right foot, and I hope you can see this. I think we got a good shot here, facing forward. My left foot is actually turned and my toes are pointed to that wall. So that's the position I'm in, like that. I got my legs opened up, straddled slightly. My left toes are facing that wall. My right toes are facing this wall. I'm going to come from this position. I'm going to drop my hand to my foot, and my other arm is just up towards the ceiling. So my hand is at my foot. My other arm is pointed straight up to the ceiling, and I'm going to hold this for 30 seconds. Once again, just like the other stretch, breathing through it. Deep breaths, trying to relax, let that QL stretch out. And I'm going to do that 3 times. And then, of course, like we said, we're going to do the opposite side. So a triangle pose, just like that. Let that QL stretch out. Try to get relaxed through the pose, breathe through it, and let that QL relax and stretch and loosen up. One more stretch right here. Okay, and finally, probably the most difficult of the 3 stretches. This is called an extended side angle pose. Once again, I'm stretching my right QL. My right toes are facing the camera. My left toes are facing the opposite wall. So from this position now, I'm going to come down with my left hand towards my left foot, but this time I'm going to bend this knee as I come down, and I'm going to plant this hand right next to my foot. So I'm going to come down with that. This arm is coming up, and then it's going to come over all the way to my right ear. And I'm going to hold, this is the position I'm going to hold. So I'm straight, legs are straight, I'm in a little bit of a straddle, toes are pointed this way. I'm bending the left knee, and I'm placing my left hand by my left foot. This arm was coming up all the way over. And this is the position I'm going to hold. So this is a much deeper stretch on that right QL. And I'm going to hold this for 30 seconds. And then I'm going to come up. 3 times to maybe the problem side, but also stretch the side that isn't bothering. I always like to keep it even. That's a progression. So that stretch you're only doing if the first 2 stretches feel comfortable. That's the final stretch to work out the problems with your QL. All right, so there you have it. If you're having trouble with your QL, work on that fascial release technique. Do those stretches. Some QL problems are just acute injuries that'll go away relatively quickly. Other people have chronic QL trouble, and if you do, you may need to work on those techniques for several weeks. All right, so good luck. All right, exercise programs, mobility plans, and our new shock release instrument are all available on my website, www.OcraMedHealth.com. December is coming to an end, and you still have time, though, using the promo code December. You can still save $50 on the shock release instrument. All right, if you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe to my channel, OcraMed Health on YouTube. Questions about exercises or injuries, just leave a comment in the comment section below. I always get back to everyone who writes in. And don't forget, OcraMed Health is here to keep you fit forever.